Good morning, Rabbi Isai. It's now Motzei Shabbos in Utah. It's about 9:30, which makes it, I think, 6:30 in Eretz Yisrael, 6:30 a.m. in Eretz Yisrael, unless my cheshbon is off, maybe 5:30, but it's early morning. Rabbi Isai, before I get into it, only 3-4 days left to Masechtas Sanhedrin, and we're going to miss Masechtas Sanhedrin very dearly. Masechtas Makos is coming up. Look at this brand new edition, brown and brand new edition, Menukad. It is the Art Scroll Menukad, the very, very first one that can be yours. Nikud, you see the Nikud? If you join this year, or if you're already part of this year and you bring someone new to this year, this can be yours. Hundreds, maybe in the thousands already, went out. It's only 23 days. Learn it with your son, learn it with your father, and be eligible for 2 tickets to Eretz Yisrael from anywhere in the world, sponsored by Dov Harris and his friends from London. I know Official was doing a project, I think he's still doing it. If you finish the whole Masechta, $250. Also, you will get a free Romanian, one-of-a-kind salami. That's what Chicago is known for. Romanian meat, Romanian salami, sponsored by Shmuel Wasserman. Bekitzer, the prizes, the things are coming in, but the biggest present is you could change your life by learning Torah. And even if you're part of this year, you could change your life by bringing somebody else this year, because the schusim that you will get by him coming and learning Torah and him changing his life go to you as well. You're not going to hear the end of it from him. Thank you for introducing me to this year. Thank you, thank you. Rabbi Isai, a couple of emails. Dear Belly, today, 8 Nissim, is the first Yosef of my father, Noach Ben Moshe, and I'm sponsoring today's daf as a schus for him. It's very hard for me to write this email, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity. I started listening to your shir at the start of Yechiel a little over 3 years ago, approximately 1,123 daf. Why is that approximate? If it was 1,100 daf, that would be approximate. But 1,123 and a half is not an approximate. That's exact, no? And here are a few thoughts I may share. Like Rebelli always says, if you miss a day or even a week, jump ahead and keep going. Don't try to outsmart this. Until the time my father was nifter, I had not missed more than a day and was able to quickly catch up. When my father was nifter, and that's what I hint when I talk about there will be times and there are times that you cannot learn. That's the way the world works. If somebody has a very elderly father and he turns 120, chances are that at a certain time in your life you might be sitting Shiva. And if that happens, what do? Not being able to learn Lili Nishmasi during Shiva and knowing that I was falling behind was a terrible nisayon. I heard this from many people. It's so hard when you have that habit and you're breaking that habit. It's part of it. After Shiva, I thankfully took your advice very hesitantly. While sadly I've not made up all of those dafim, there's no doubt that skipping ahead to the current daf is what allowed me to get back in the wagon and keep going. I'm very, very proud of you. And I say I'm very proud of you because this is one of the first times somebody wrote in that he didn't make up all those dafim. Usually people make up those dafim. And here you are, not making up those dafim and still saying it was the right thing to do. That's beautiful. Beautiful, worth a tear. Life is short, use it well. That's number 2. Number 2, life is short, use it well. You're subtle, and sometimes it's not subtle. Musar on this point is so spot on. We just don't know how much time we have yet. Yet, we do know that we'll be held accountable for how we use the time we're given. That means each day counts. After leaving Koil and joining the workforce, I always maintained some amount of learning Seder, but can't say I was learning Motzi Shabbos or Friday minutes before Shabbos. The kfiyas of the daf means we're always looking for ways to maximize learning time and in turn limiting distractions, which at the end of the day are just that. One Erev Shabbos, Mechanech came by my house to speak to my son, and he saw me learning. He was amazed and told me that he, a successful Mechanech, was never able to learn every Erev Shabbos up until Mincha. But for the daf guys, this is a common practice, whether preparing the daf, listening to this year, We're doing Chazara. Spot on, spot on. 3, last but most important, thank you. I don't know why I'm emotional. Thanks for all the time and energy you've invested, because Snami brought up the whole Shiva thing, and I remember my mom and Shiva. Thanks for all the time and energy you invest into the shir, for the chizuk you give to all of us, and may we all be benched with psuras toivus and a chakoshe v'sameach. Looking forward to seeing you back in RBS. Yeshua Feldman. Yeshkoyach Yeshua Feldman. Next. 1 year ago, Mrs. Rachel Rubin, the Chabad Shalucha of Albany, New York, told me I should start Daf Yomi. She said this gentleman named Fischel stopped in the shul last week and offered $1,000 to anyone from Albany who learns Baba Basra with the MDY program and another $1,000 each for the school. I'd never heard of MDY and hadn't learned Gemara since getting married 16 years ago. I'm a BT. I literally didn't know Amud Beis until I was 20 years old, and I'm supposed to learn Daf Yomi now. I went home and watched my first year, Bab Metzia Daf 50. I haven't missed a day since. I also decided I couldn't wait 7.5 years to learn the first 48 Daf of Bab Metzia. So I slowly went back and filled those in. Once that was done, Baba Kama was calling my name. So I'm up to Daf 44 shortly after the fish menorah. Don't worry, I won't fall behind on the current dapim. Gewaldig. Here's a guy, I like this, a guy that didn't go back to brachas. Doing one mesechta before the one he started, like that. I like that. If you told me on Purim of last year that by Purim of this year I'd be close to finishing my third mesechta, I'd have called you insane. To be yoytze the inyan, you've changed my life. V'chulu. Again, to be yoytze the inyan, you've changed my life. V'chulu. Thank you tremendously, Ephraim Sherman, Albany, New York. Rabbi Isai, a few things here. First of all, 2 siyumim. There's one siyum from Sanhedrin in Borough Park, and another siyum in Muncie. And take a look at these posters and call the following people Yeshua Koyach. What else? They made this video for the Hebrew speakers. I think we should do one for English as well. Without, don't worry about the audio. We'll do without audio. But you need to take a break to get rid of those tears. Tears going to the nose.
אפילו צירפתי עוד 2. זה שינה לי את החיים, זה שינה לאשתי את החיים, זה שינה לילדים שלי את החיים. פשוט מתחילים ללמוד, ואחרי כמה זמן רואים שהחיים משתנים. פשוט ככה. מסתיים יום, יש עבודה, אבל מה נשארת בסוף היום? דבר אחד ויחיד, הדף. האמת שאני לא קורא לזה דף יומי, אני קורא לזה מרדף יומי.
מרדף יומי, not דף יומי, מרדף יומי.
אין נפילות, זה לא הדף.
Chasing the daf.
אין יום שאתה
Like Rabbi Feldman said.
זה דבר שלא עוצר אף פעם.
Chasing the daf on Friday afternoon. Okay, you get the idea. Let's just do some sponsors and we can get going here. The Masechta is sponsored with 4 Shmuel Ben Chana, Ettel and Yosef, Chaim, Shmuel Ben Alte Nechama by their grateful family. Anonymous. Hatzlacha B'Parnasa, ובגשמיות. Larry Cohn, in memory of Yechiel Moshe Ben Chaim, who started learning Daf Yomi at age 70 and continued for 32 years until he was nifter. Anonymous. For the unity of the Jewish people. Glenn Esterson, with love and gratitude from Wilmington, North Carolina, thank you for enriching my life with Torah. Rabbi Isai, the Masechta is almost over, and we might not hear anymore from Glenn Esterson from North Carolina. But it's your chance to maybe sponsor Masechtas Makis or Shavuos. Monthly sponsors. Did I say all of them? Yeah. By ActualEyes, by Hatzlacha B'Parnasa. Parnasa Birevach for, that's the second one. Parnasa Birevach for Baruch, Tzvi, Nissim, Ben, Shoshana, Leah. Parnas HaChodesh for the Koilol. Thank you to R Eli's wife and kids for the great sacrifices they make, allowing him to spread Torah to the masses. Shkoyach. Daily sponsors. David Badiel. I just saw him. The Lrefo Shlema, Eliezer Shmuel Ben Vita. In honor of Jake Manis, who got me back on the daf after falling off since October 7th. Wow. I didn't realize. I guess people were so hurt and so shocked by October 7th that they fell off the daf. I heard of the opposite, that people got onto the daf and started learning, but it makes a lot of sense. Kol hakavod. Thank you for getting back onto the daf. It's a big schos. L'chvoid, sefer, Halachas and minogim on Erev Pesach on Shabbos, just $5 on Amazon with free shipping. I guess we're doing a full ad here. Why? Because it's a safer. Okay. Berkovici family, L'schus, Refuah Shlema, Nissim Yaakov, Ben Yehudis, Refuah Shlema. Yeshua Feldman, that the great email I just read, Lili Nishmas, Noyach Ben Moshe. MDY Kids Monthly Innovations, Chus Official, Elchanan, Akiva, Rifki, and Mrs. Stefansky. Art of the Month. For Shlema, for Yonatan, Eitan Ben Basheva, Brocha. For Schus for Rebellion, the whole MDY staff to continue to make Torah and joy for so many. In honor of Yossi Klein and Marcus Kenazi for all the work they do. Rabbi Sai, we're continuing with the Agadah to the Daf Kuf Tes Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Mark, if you have a way to show me on the screen what time it is in Eretz Yisrael, I'm just curious. I don't know why. I want to know, like, if they're gonna, while I'm giving the end of the shir, they're gonna be watching the beginning. Just cool. Omarav, 4 lines from the bottom.
Your clock on the bottom on your screen shows 6:37. That's the time in Eretz Yisrael.
That's the time in Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Cool. So they're in the middle of Shacharis right now, and in about maybe 30 minutes, 35 minutes or so, they will be starting the shir. I don't know if they do with the emails or not, and we'll be. There's 26 people watching live. Unbelievable. Maybe no, they're not on Zoom, right? If you had a Zoom, then send me a picture. But they're on YouTube. Omarav, Oin ben Peles Ishtoi Hitzilatoi. We're talking about the story of Korach. We all know Korach was in a big fight, a big machloikas with Moshe Rabbeinu. And one of the people that swore that they'll fight for Korach was Oin ben Peles. And he had a smart wife, and his wife saved his life. Sometimes our wives save our lives, and sometimes they destroy our lives. Depends what kind of wife you have. And the Gemara is going to give 2 examples. One of a wife who saved the life, and one the wife who destroyed her husband and destroyed 250 people and became a parsha in the Torah. What difference? Why are you getting involved in this fight? Imar Rabba and Talmida. If Moshe Rabbeinu is the head of Klal Yisrael, you're the Talmud. Vimar Rabba, and if Korach wins this fight, and Talmida, you're going to remain second class. So what difference does it make to you? Amar Allah, my Eved. Now all of a sudden the Yiddishkeit comes in. I have to fight. Have be'etza. I was there when we had a meeting, and I was on the board. And I swore that if they go to war, I'm going to go with them. I swore. How could I break a shvuah? She's telling him it's not good what you're doing, but I swore. I knew that all of Klal Yisrael are Kaddish. So when I said the shir on Friday, and I had to prepare it quickly, and not like I like to with, looking at everything and going every. So I missed the Rashi here. So the Rashi says, Baruch Hashem, I had an opportunity to chazer it on Shabbos, so I caught onto this Rashi. I just said, okay, the whole, everybody's Kaddish. It says in the pasuk, the Chsiv, ki kol ha'eda kulam k'doshim, all of, even the people fighting for Korach, they're all Kaddish. But Rashi sticks in a knech, they're Kaddish, and therefore they wouldn't look at a woman who has uncovered hair. And if that's the case, she continues, Amrale tuv, I want you to stay right here. I'm going to save your life. Ashkite chamro varvite. It wasn't so simple. It wasn't a pushover. Okay, yeah, you told me to stay. I'm going to stay. I swore I got to go. So she came over with a whole trick. She gave him some wine, and he got drunk. She made sure he goes to sleep inside the tent. She stood by the door, and she pulled down her hair. In other words, she uncovered her hair and she took it down. And now it was noticeable she wasn't covering her hair. All the people from Korach came to call Oim Peles. Where are you? We're going. Here's the big day that we spoke about. But they noticed that she didn't have covered hair. Called the Aso Chazio Hodar. Here's another raya. A lot of times I have arguments with, we have family friends. In fact, one of our very, very close friends came as a guest. We invited her her husband for Shabbos, for the Shabbaton. And, she lives in a more of a modern Orthodox community. And we discuss it. And I told her this Gemara. It's not a Gemara, it's a Navi. It's the Gemara says that they would cover their hair then. And not only that, if a woman had uncovered hair, you couldn't look at her. You're not allowed to look at her. And they ran away. Until he came back to himself and he was sober. The whole story with Korach happened, and we have a very nice depiction here that Yoshi worked on, Motzi Shabbos. I got to remember to show this to the Israelis. So on my screen it's working well, but I see on the what the Olam is seeing live might be a little bit choppy. Like the Gemara says, it's a karcha. Kairach is like karcha. It's like a bald spot. All of a sudden, in the middle of the camp, boom, they all got swallowed in there. So Oyim Bepelas was saved. Let's go back to the regular. It's the Kairach Amrle, but on the reverse side, we have the wife of Kairach, who caused a tremendous tzara in Klal Yisrael. Chazimai Kovid Moshe. She was a smart woman. She tells her husband, look what Moshe did. You have a malko. Just gotta see, what is that? Yeah. You have a malko. Moshe Rabbeinu was the king. What does he do? All he cares about is himself. And he made his brother the Kohen Gadol. And to his sons he made them the second in command to the Kahuna. He asked your truma, and when people have a bunch of produce, they take 2% or so, and they give it to the Kohen. He came up with this rule. He said, I want everybody to give my brother food. Omar tehevi leKohen, to go to the Kohen. Basically, she's accusing Moshe Rabbeinu of making stuff up. And certain halachas in the Torah that she didn't agree with, she said Moshe Rabbeinu made them up. And she caused a whole machlokes. And the 10% of all produce that goes to Levi, Omar, havu chad ma'asor leKohen. He says, not only you get 10%, but you have to give 10% of that 10%, you have to give to the Kohen. Made it up. V'oid, the guy's leilim zaychu, u'metaleluchu ki kufta. The guy's lei lemazaychu means he made that every Levi has to shave their entire body, like it says in this pasuk right over here. You should take a razor on all your skin. So look what he did to you. You look like fools. You have no hair. You're all bald. He's dragging you around. He's grabbing you. He's dragging you. He kufta like a piece of waste, like an animal dung. Eino yav b'mzaychu. He doesn't want you to look like him. He has a nice beard. He looks choshev. He wants your hair. I don't know that he wants your hair to be a sheitel macher, to make a but he wants that you shouldn't have hair and he should have hair. Omar Allah, so wait, that doesn't make sense, he tells her. Hayu nami kovid. He's also a Levi. He had to shave everything also. Omar Allah, yeah, you're right. Given the kulu revasa day, since he's in charge. Omar Yunami Thomas Nafshi in Plishtim. Like Shimshon Agiver said years later, Thomas Nafshi in Plishtim, let me die, and while I die, I'll kill all the Plishtim in the building. Let me grab the two beams. We had a good picture. Okay, we could have shown that. Shimshon grabbed the two beams and brought the whole building down and killed hundreds, thousands of Plishtim. So he told HaKadosh Baruch Hu, let me die with the Plishtim. So, you know what? I don't care if everybody shaves their head and everything, they all look foolish, I'll also do it, as long as you look foolish. Moshe Rabbeinu says one of the 4 strings in every tzitzis should be blue. She's like a lamdan. If it's true that chelis is so important, then you should make a talis shekulat tchelis, then if it's so beautiful, it's so important, the whole talis should be made out of tchelis, out of blue, and then covered the whole yeshiva. Says the Gemara, I knew the a smart woman built her house. Zu ishto shel Oim ben Peles. This is the wife of Oim ben Peles who saved her husband, saved her family. V'veles biyod terseno. Zu ishto shel Korach. And on the flip side, you have the wife of Korach, biyod terseno. She destroyed her family and her houses and everything. Everything went into the ground. Reb Chaim Shmuel says, what was so chashuv about the wife of Oim ben Peles? That even in a situation of kas, of anger, she was able to be level-headed. When there's a big fight, you're not thinking straight. She was able to use common sense and logic to convince her husband. Another pshat that I saw is that I have to stop shaking the table, because every time I touch the table, the whole camera shakes. Like in the good olden days, in brachas. Literally, we used to use a camera like this, like an iPhone on the table, and everybody used to clap and turn the page, and the whole thing would shake. Now the cameras are on the wall, and it's a whole different camera. Okay. Another pshat I saw was that the chachma was that she didn't argue with Oim ben Peles. She said she understood what he wanted. He wanted a little kavod, and she rolled with it. She didn't argue on the details. Vayikumu lifnei Moshe. Va'anoshim bnei Yisrael 50 u'musayim. People of Korach, 250. So the Gemara tells us, who are these people? Were they losers? They're terrible people? No. Miyuchadim shebe'eda, the best of the best. They were really good in learning and in calculations of the celestial and the moon and all that. They knew how to do Ibur Shana and to make the months. The whole world heard about these people. Moshe heard and he fell on his face. What caused them to fall flat on his face? He was shocked. He found out that people are accusing him of being over on the worst aver in the Torah, one of the three chamurais of Eishesish. Shenemar ve'ikanu leMoshe b'machar. What's ve'ikanu? It's a loshon of kinui. Unbelievable. When a person suspects his wife is going with another man, what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to do kinui. He's supposed to give her hasra. Do not be misiach with that man. And if she does, then she has to drink the water of the saita. Each and every person in Klal Yisrael made a kinui to his wife, and he was choshid his own wife. Maybe she's going with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe heard this, he fell on his face. He couldn't believe it. So there's a lot of explanations. One of the explanations I saw from the Maharsha is that since Moshe separated from his wife, so people said, well, it's impossible for a basar b'dam to control himself like that and not be with his wife, so maybe I have to be choshesh my own wife. He had such busha that he took his tent and he went outside of the encampment. Dasim Aviram were part of this whole Korach business. Moshe was mevater, even though he's Moshe Rabbeinu, he went to Dasim Aviram that there shouldn't be a fight. He wanted to make up. What's the lashon over here? Shemachal al kvoidi, Rashi says. His Michael is covered, and he himself went to stop the fight. So mikanchi machzikim machlokes. I think it's very, very important what we learn over here, and maybe this should be the 1 point. If you're going to take 1 point out of today's daf, that when it comes to machlokes, you have to break your ego. Even if you're Moshe Rabbeinu, you're the top of the top, you're the head of Klal Yisrael, and everybody looks up to you. You go and you knock on the guy's door, and you tell him, hey, I want to make up. Why? And here's the point. Think about this. If you're in a fight with somebody, you're ignoring him, you're broigist, as they say, you're not talking to the guy, and you bump into him in shul, and you continue not to talk to him, are you over a Isser D'Rabbanan, a Isser D'Oraisa, or it's the same Isser that you were over before? Says the Gemara, says Rav, over belav. It's Isser D'Oraisa. Shenemar v'lo yiyeh kekorach v'chadasa. There's some Rishonim that say that it's Isser D'Rabbanan. It's just an asmachta. But the Gemara, the pashas of the Gemara, belav, it's Isser D'Oraisa. Shenemar v'lo yiyeh kekorach v'chadasa. So when you continue a fight, not in a fight, when you continue a fight, you have the opportunity to break it, and you don't. Now, breaking a machlokes is very, very difficult because you have to. It's super awkward. You have to go over to the guy and apologize, and nobody likes to do that. It's very, very stressful. It's hard, but it's something that you got to do. You got to break the machlokes. You got to break the machlokes, and if you don't, you could be over an Isser D'Oraisa by not breaking the machlokes. Domer Rav kol machlokes over belav. Rav Ashi Omar Roy Litztareya. Somebody who doesn't break the machlokes, he deserves tzaras. Ksevhacha b'yad Moshe loy, ksevhasam v'yim Hashem loy oid havei no yotch b'chikech. We know Moshe Rabbeinu put his hand in and pulled it out. It was tzaras. So you see the lashon of tzaras when it comes to the machlokes. A person who decides that there shouldn't be the kingdom of David, then he deserves to be bit by a snake. Ksevhacha v'yizbach adoniyo tzonu bakum meri im even hazichelas. So it's like a Gzer Shavas sort of. And you see, Chahamas Zoichel Yafar is the poison of those who crawl on the ground. So he deserves to be bit by that poison. If you argue on your Rebbe, is like arguing on Rebbeinu Shalom. If you fight with your Rebbe, it's like fighting with the Shechina. Asheravu b'nei Yisrael as Hashem. If we're mentioning Meimeriva, I just want to mention a beautiful idea by Reb Shimshon Pincus. He says that Moshe Rabbeinu, he davened 550 times as Chana. He says the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't listen to him and didn't let him into Eretz Yisrael is because he didn't do tshuva. That's his chiddush. Didn't do tshuva. Had he done tshuva, Hashem would have had to let him in. This shows again the importance of tshuva, how much tshuva could accomplish. And why didn't he do tshuva? He explained because he didn't know on what. Because his big machlokes what his aver was. So since he wasn't sure, there wasn't a good tshuva, and the tefillah wasn't enough. If you complain about your Rebbe, it's complaining on the Shechina. The complaint is not on us, it's on Hashem. So in other words, complaining on Moshe is complaining on Hashem. If you think bad about your Rebbe, it's like thinking bad about the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's both. Hashem and Moshe go together. Shlomo says there's some people that keep a tremendous amount of wealth, and it's for his bad. What does that mean? We know there's a famous saying. They say in Yiddish, "Reich vi Kairach." He's rich like Kairach. Ashir ke Kairach in Hebrew. Kairach is the symbol of extreme wealth. That extreme wealth is what brought Kairach down. It's a certain gaiva. When you're Bill Gates and you're one of the wealthiest people in the world, you're Elon Musk, you have a certain gaiva. I could do Doge, I could this, I could that. Certain gaiva. If you use it in the right place, givaldik. But you could use it also for the bad. You could use it to fight against Moshe Rabbeinu. It's called Yikum. And to continue, it says it's called Yikum to keep a person up, to bring him up, biragleim with his feet. when a person does have wealth, shemamida raglov, it gives him a certain self-confidence. It builds him up. Omer Levi, Masu Shalish Meos Prodos Levanos. How wealthy was he? He had 300 white mules. These mules are very powerful, very strong, the white ones. Three, here we have a picture. 300 mules carrying the keys to his fortunes. Not the fortunes, the keys to the fortune. The keys to the boxes that held his fortunes. 300 mules. So 300 is always an exaggeration. And these keys, says the Gemara, they weren't even metal keys. They were made out of leather. In other words, they were very light. So each mule was able to carry, let's say if they were metal keys, they were able to carry 1,000 keys. Now they could carry 2,000 keys. We're just trying to show the vast amount of treasure chests that he had. Where did he get his crazy wealth? Because Yosef at Tzaddik, he became so wealthy in Mitzrayim when there's no food in the entire world, and everybody came to Mitzrayim to buy food, and they started paying crazy prices and started giving them the slaves. 7 years, the final years, they're just giving up real estate and everything. So what did he do with all this money? He divided it into three. One of the Shalosh Matmonias, he had 3 of these, he hid them in 3 different places. Korach found it somehow, probably with the Ruach HaKodesh. The famous friend of Rebbe throughout Shas, many stories, Rebbe and Antoninus, they were both very wealthy, Rebbe and Antoninus. So Antoninus, where did he get his wealth from? From one of the treasures that Yosef hid in Mitzrayim. And one of them is going to be for the tzaddikim in the world to come. Rabbi Yochanan says Korach wasn't swallowed in the ground, not like this picture, and he wasn't burnt. So one pshat is that he was more choshev than everybody else. Everybody else did it shaloi l'shem shemayim. Korach did it l'shem shemayim, and because he did it l'shem shemayim, he didn't get burnt and he didn't get swallowed, but he did die in the Magefa. The Chassam Sofer says no. He was worse than them. He was the head of the fight. What do you mean he didn't die? He deserved to die more than them. But he died in the Magefa, which is worse than dying in the ground and being burnt. Why? Because when you're so wealthy like Korach, and you see Hashem taking away everything from you, swallowed in the ground, including all your children and your wife and everybody you know, all your Talmidim and everybody, they're all swallowed. You have nothing left in this world, 0. And then you die. Then you die a few days later in the Magefa. That is the worst. Says the Gemara, how do we know that he wasn't swallowed in the ground? Everybody was swallowed, and not Korach himself. And as Rashi points out, it says that Aaron took the machta with Korach. So in other words, the 250 did not include Korach. But in the Brisa it says no, Korach was burnt and his body was whole, and then his whole body went into the ground. It says Mufurish that he was swallowed with Korach. And Korach was one of them. The Gemara is going to explain this pasuk. The sun and the moon, they went to a place called Zvul. They said to Rabban Shalom, if you stick up for Moshe Rabbeinu, we'll shine on the world. We'll go back to where we belong. But if not, we won't do our job. Hashem threw arrows at them, And he said to them, when the kings of the Mizrach and the Ma'ariv, like we had the other day, put on their crowns and they bow down to the sun, you see them, all these kings bowing to you, and you never stuck up for me. But when Moshe Rabbeinu has a problem, all of a sudden you stick up for Moshe Rabbeinu. What happened to me? So therefore Hashem threw arrows at them and said, go back, do your job. And today, according to one Pshat and Rashi, now they do stick up for the Rebbeinu Shalom, and they say, we don't want to shine on the Goyim. So Hashem every day has to throw arrows at them, because now they're making a mecha for Hashem. Darish Rava. And if Hashem will create a situation and the ground will open up its mouth, in Brio Gehenim, if you have something called Gehenim, mutav, throw Korach and everybody in there. Vimlav, and if you don't have something called Gehenim, Yivra Hashem, please create it. Says Gemara Lamai, what should he create? If you're saying that he should create Gehenim from scratch, it's impossible. Hashem doesn't make anything new. If Gehenim wasn't there on Sheshish Sumei Bereshis, then Hashem doesn't create anything new. Ella, of course, Gehenim was there in Sheshish Sumei Bereshis. The Karuve Pischa, to bring the opening of Gehenim closer to Karach so that they could fall in and disappear. The Chvoid Basar Adam I skipped. Okay, let's see. Thank you. Where was this? Oh, when he said, Hashem said, you don't stick up for you don't stick up for me, but you stick up for me. Where was this? And thank you. And you're stuck up for flesh and blood for Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay. And the sons of Korach didn't die. They did tshuva. So there's a special place in Gehenim. There's a special ledge in Gehenim. They stood on top and they didn't get burned. And they stood there and they said Shira. Says Gemara, fascinating story. We actually had the story in the past. Where do we have it? In Baba Basra. Wow. I thought it was way before that, but okay. Says Rabbi Chana was on the way in the desert. So this Arab merchant or Arab guy, you want to see where Korach was buried? Let me show you. He saw two cracks, two tzdakim. No, I couldn't come up with the word in Hebrew. I knew it was cracks. I couldn't come up with tzdakim until Mark told me. Smoke is coming out of the ground. He took a piece of wool, and he soaked it in water, and he put it there by the hole over there. On the end of a spear, and he put it over there by the crack. It burned. Rabbi said, check out this unbelievable AI. Well, it's a tremendous amount of work to put something like this together, but take a look at it. Wow. Unbelievable. So he took a piece of wool, put it in the hole over there, and it became black. In other words, that's how hot the Gehenim is over there. Even a moist piece of wool will become black. Omar Li, Atzis Mashamat, put your ear to the ground, listen. V'sham is davakam rachi, and they heard them saying, Moshe v'seirasei emes v'heim badayim. This is what we scream on Simchas Torah. Moshe emes v'seirasei emes. Moshe v'seirasei emes v'heim badayim, and we, hein, in the third lashon, third party, we are a bunch of liars. Daf Kuf Yud, and we can go straight to the sponsors because it's at a break. Adar Global, one-stop shop for all your financial needs. I miss Ari Simon and his Aras every day. sitting over here by myself. Even my son who does the daf with me forgot to come. Innovations LLC in honor of our sons Kalmo 12 and Yisrael 9 for learning Sanhedrin with Reb Eli. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Only 3 days away, Rabbi Isai, to remind the Olam. If you haven't seen this and you skipped the emails in the beginning, you can go full screen, Mark. It's fine. It's 45 people. Unbelievable. Kol hakavod. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I know that you're there somewhere. I can't see you. You could see me maybe. Rabbi Isai, starting with Masechtas Makos. This is not a joke. Some of you went out and got people. Some of you were lazy, like myself, and didn't get anybody. So now's the time. Put it on your status. If you don't know how to do status, you don't know how to get a good picture, just write on your status 4 words. Join Daf Yomi today. Tell Lazi that he could come learn. Even though like we're on Amud Beis, he'll get a whole Amud. And Amela, if you join, you get this brand new, one of the first ever art scroll with Nekudas on the Gemara side, and anybody from the Shir could get it. If they bring a person, anybody that's not from the Shir certainly could get one. You get a free salami, you could get $250. Maybe you want to sit and join. Says the Gemara, Omali. So the Arab told Rabbi Chana, who was this? Rabbi Baruch Chana. Every 30 days, it goes around as a joke. I used to tell my daughter when she was younger, obviously, she's 9, 10 years old, so I would describe to her Gehenim when she's a little chutzpahdik. I said, "Oh, Hashem is going to take you, not like the Rebbe, you're going to go to Gehenim. No, in a funny way. I'd say He's going to take you, and he's going to go put you on the grill, and then after a while, he's going to flip you and go. So sometimes when she was in a good mood, she would say like a chutzpah thing, and then she'd go like, I don't care about your Gehenna. But anyway, that's what the Gemara says over here. That every 30 days, the Bnei Korach, they get, come, Lazi, have a seat. We're on Daf Yud, Amud Beis, starting, continue with the Agadata. Every 30 days, it's like meat in a pot. Va'amri hachi, and they would admit and they would scream, Moshe v'serasi emes v'hein badayim. Moshe and his Torah are true, and we are liars. We made a mistake. We messed up with this machlokes. Now a new sugya, brand new sugya, Kuf Yud Amud Beis, 3 lines from the top. So this is fascinating. According to Tanakama, all the people that went through the Midbar, they saw Matan Torah, they saw the Nissim, they won't have a portion in Olam Haba. Tana Rabbanan, Dora Midbar, Elam Cheg Olam Haba, Shenamar, Bamidbar Azeh Yitamu v'Sham Yemusu. They're going to be finished, and that's where they'll die. Yitamu b'Olam Hazeh v'Sham Yemusu b'Olam Haba. Okay. Lozi, did I ever tell you about Gehenim? You too? I used to do that to you? Was it? Heard it from Eliza. Oh, you heard it from Eliza? Okay. If you think about it, this is the 40 years of the Midbar. Akot means to grab. They didn't know my ways. In other words, these are the people in the mirror, they didn't know it. And then it says, Asher nishbati va'api, I swore in my anger, ba'api, in my anger, im yevayon el menuchasi, if they'll come to my resting place. In other words, they won't come there. They won't get there. Divrei Rebbe Kiva. Rebbe Eliezer says, no, they will come. So again, once again, Rebbe Eliezer and Rebbe Kiva argue. Rebbe Eliezer is the one that's machmer. Rebbe Kiva is the one that's machmer. Rebbe Eliezer is the one that's mekel. And he says, they will get there. Shenemar isvuli chasidoi, gather my chasidim, korse brisi olay zavach. We just said the pasuk that Hashem says, I swore that they won't come. Ba'abi nishbati, you're right. I did it when I was angry, I swore. B'chizrani bi, and I retracted. This pasuk of Isfuli Chasidoi, gather O Mechasidim, it's not referring about the Dara Midbar. This is in future generations. In other words, I agree with Rabbi Kiva that the Dar Hamidbar are not going to have Olam Haba. It says in the pasuk, Isfuli Chasidah, gather my Chasidim. It's talking about future generations. That what? The three tzaddikim, Chananya, Mishael, Azariah, Shemasru Atzmon Tachkiv Shanayish, they gave up their life for HaKadosh Baruch and they jumped into the fire. Here, let's watch this. Also, a phenomenal push. I'll push. On the phone, I don't see it so well. On my screen, it's perfect. In other words, on YouTube, might be a little choppy right now. You don't see it here. You ever saw this one? It's unbelievable. And then an angel, a fourth person appeared as an angel. Next, Alei Zavach, it's a lotion of Shchita, Zvicha. Elu Rebbe Kiva Machaverov, Rebbe Kiva and the Asara Arugi Malchus, Shemasru Atzom L'Shchita. They gave themselves over to be shechted al divrei Torah. Rebbe Kiva and his friends, they gave shiurim on Torah in public, even though the Romans said whoever is going to learn Torah in public is going to die. They didn't care. They gave the shiurim, they moistened themselves for Torah. The Dar HaMidbar are going to go to Olam Haba. Shenamar B'duyei Hashem Yishuvun Uvo Tzion Berina, that they're going to do tshuva and they're going to go. You can come back, Berina, to Tzion. Omer Rabbi Chana, Rabbi Yochanan, Shavke Rabbi Kiva lechasidusei. I don't understand. Rabbi Kiva is the one throughout Shas, we'll see, who is a chassid, and he cares about people, and he doesn't say that, he's not going to throw a whole generation and say they don't get Olam Haba. Why all of a sudden over here he's saying they don't get Olam Haba? Shenemar. Oh, I don't know if the Olam is in the mood. I'll sing over here together with the Lazar. But I don't have a voice. Skip it. Ma acherim baim b'schusam. Halach v'karasa b'azdin Yerushalayim leimar. Call out in the ears of Yerushalayim. I remember Zacharti lo chesed nurayach havas klusach lechtech achar b'midbar. You went after me in the desert, be'eres leizru, in a land that's not planted. Says the Gemara ma acherim baim b'schusam. If the people from Yerushalayim are there because of the schusim of the people of the generation of the midbar, certainly the people in the midbar themselves are going to have olam haba. So we have an argument whether the people from the midbar are going to have olam haba or not. And now we have a Mishnah. Says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. The 10 tribes. Where are they? Who are they? So we learned earlier on, maybe, 2 weeks ago, that the Aseret Shvatim are somewhere in Africa. Some people say they're in Afghanistan. Some people say, what did you hear? Where are they? Africa. I heard that they're in China. All the Chinese are Jews. Some other people say, I heard people say Palestinians are even Aseret Shvatim. They have the same, very similar DNA to Jews. Crazy stuff. Who knows where they are? It's going to be a big surprise. But the Mishnah over here says that Aseret Shvatim einom asidim lachzor. They will not come back. They're not going to be back, part of us. Shenema vayishlichem el eretz acheres kayom hazeh. Look at this. It says the whole pasuk is important to know. The Gemara is actually going to bring it later. Vayitchem Hashem ma'al admosam ba'af u'bechema with anger, ubeketzav gadol, with a lot of anger. Vayishlichem al eretz acheretz, he tossed them out to a different country. Kayoim hazeh. What's kayoim hazeh? Vayishlichem al eretz acheretz kayoim hazeh. Ma hayoim hoylech ve'ein chazer. Kayoim hazeh, like a day. The day goes but never comes back. They went and they disappeared and they're never coming back. So once again, Rebbe Kiva's Machmer says we're never going to hear from them. Rebbe is the Meikol. The day is dark and then it comes. It's nighttime now. Here in Utah, it's night. It's going to be light soon. Yes, it's daytime in Eretz Yisrael. It's interesting, huh? So right now, in Eretz Yisrael, they're already watching this year. So I'm giving this year. It's just on a delay. They're watching the beginning of it. Well, I'm giving then. Yes, you're right. It's very dark for the Seres Shvatim, but one day in the near future, they are going to come back. I says the 10 tribes are not going to have a portion of the world to come. Is referring to Olam Hazeh. ובכסף גדול, זה והשליחים על הזכרס, לא אלם הבא, דברי רבי עקיבא. רבי שמעון לא יהודה, איש כפר הקוים משום רבי שמעון. אם מעשיהם כיום הזה, אין חוזרים. You're right. If they don't do tshuva, they're not going to come back. ואם לאו, but if they do tshuva, חוזרים, they'll come back. רבי אומר, בואים הם לא אלם הבא, they will come in לא אלם הבא. שנאמר, ביום ההוא יתוקע בשבי גדול. ביום ההוא, בשבי פר גדול. Whoa, did we get it? I don't think we had to so. Ishtachabu Hashem, Hayakodesh, Yerushalayim. By Yom HaHu Yitaka b'Shofar Gadol on that day will be blown with a great shofar. Omer Rabbi Chana Rabbi Yochanan, Shafker Rabbi Akiva l'Chasidusei. Once again, Rabbi Akiva, who's a chassid and cares about other Jews and wants them to be part of the fold. All of a sudden, he's kicking them out. 10 tribes. No, nothing. We're not going to know them. Everybody's going to do tshuva. And I won't have anger. Ponai is anger. Hashem is saying, I'm a chassid. I'm not going to carry that anger forever. My chassid say. Where do we see that Rabbi Akiva was a chassid? The Sayya. Ketani b'nei Rishay Yisrael in Baim Lo'elam Haba. We could go back to full screen. If a person is a Rasha, what about his children? So over here the Tana says, who is this? Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Gamaliel, that a child of a Rasha doesn't get Olam Haba. The day will come, will be hot like an oven. All the bad guys and the Rishayim, kash, they'll be like straw. They're going to burn. And we're not going to leave over from them. Not a root and a leaf. And that's referring, what's a root and a leaf? It's referring to children. The Rishayim, their children are not going to be Zaychat Olam Haba. Shorish b'olam hazeh, v'anof l'olam haba, divrim gamliel. Rabbi Akiva Omer, and over here, Rabbi Akiva is the one that's Mekel, and he's a chassid. Ba'emem l'olam haba, they will come to l'olam haba. Shomer pisoyim Hashem. So this is a famous pasuk. Shomer pisoyim Hashem. Shomer pisoyim Hashem is referring to Pesi is a fool, and the pasuk of it is referring to small children. There's certain places they call a child a pesi. This is the pasuk, Rabbi Isai, that we use a lot. It says, this pasuk is saying that if you ever notice children, they do a lot of dangerous stuff. They run into streets by mistake. They almost get hit by cars all the time. They'll climb over a balcony and they don't fall. Why? Because of this pasuk. They have a special shmira from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I forgot what it was that Mark told me a story about that. What's his name from Cleveland? That tells the Rosh Hashiva. No. What was his name? Not Rav Pam. What's his name? Oh, Rav Gifter. That's right. Rav Gifter, some woman told him that Hashem will take care of him because Shomer P'sayim Hashem. He's like, she just called me a shaita, something like that. Did I mess up the story? I don't know. It was like Friday after the third cheer, and you told it to me. I was like, okay. But it was good at the time. I hope I didn't mess it up. A lady gave him a bracha, Rosh Hashiva, Shomer P'sayim Hashem. Either she called him a little child or a shaita. But she didn't call him a Rosh Hashiva. That's for sure. She came V'oimer. Doing well on time over here. V'oimer. For that is for Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin is a little longer than usual. V'oimer. Goidu ilona v'chablui. This is referring to Nebuchadnezzar. Chop down the tree. Biram, however, ikar shorishai ba'ar shvuku. But the main part, the bottom part, I don't know how do you call it in English, the geza, the not the bark, the stub, whatever. The trunk is the main part. I don't know, maybe there's not. I'm sure there's a word for it. When you cut down a tree, leave the roots and everything else. In other words, the pasuk is talking about the Nebuchadnezzar that he'll come back to be a king. He took a little break. So over here, he says, no, the children of these Rishayim will go to Gan Eden. But we just brought a pasuk that Hashem is not going to leave over a root or a branch. They won't have even a simple mitzvah, a big mitzvah. They won't have any mitzvahs. Everything Akash Baruch is going to pay them in this world. They won't have anything in the Olam Haba. They won't have a neshama. The neshama will be destroyed. Van of Zaguf and their body will be destroyed. But the small children of the bad guys of the world, the goyim, so we had a machlokes whether or not the goyim themselves go to Olam Haba, but certainly the rishayim of the goyim, they don't have Olam Haba, and their children don't have Olam Haba either. He learns it from the pasuk. Hakadosh Baruch Hu is going to get rid of all zecher forever. Rabboisai, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Be'ezer Hashem.